Hello there! Okay, well anyway, so hey everyone, ArdrethShadow here, and welcome back to yet another late night edition of Monika After Story. This is probably going to be the new norm of when I get to record this series now. Oh wait, if I can just move her slightly. Okay, well anyways. Hi there! You're back a bit earlier than I thought, but I'm glad you are. Yeah, so I told her 2 weeks, and it's only been about 8-9 days, I think. At least a week has passed by. When you're here with me, everything becomes better. Let's have a lovely day together, Daniel. You got it. Remind me if you're going away again, okay? Do I never? Or don't I always? Okay, and she's gonna go ahead and make the cat eyes, because I come bearing gifts. Or gift. Yeah, compared to last episode where I was just giving her like 50 different gifts. Yeah, this time it's only one. No, it's for the monkey! Oh, coffee! It's a flavor I haven't had before. I can't wait to try it. But I won't. Thank you so much, Daniel. Alright. Okay, and well, I guess one thing I want to check really quickly here. So, I kind of decided to try my hand at sort of making music arrangements again. Well, sort of. I used to do, like, extended cuts of certain songs I used to like. Like, I actually did one with the Jennifer Lopez song once. This time I decided to take Mermaid Falls from one of the Shantae games. Did it work? Yeah, it did. So, there! We can have that going now. Daniel, do you remember when we talked about the 3 laws of robotics? Yes, I do. Well, I've been thinking about them for a bit, and... Ah! What the... Did the game... Was that intentional? I don't know what happened. Well, I've been thinking about them for a bit, and... they're not exactly practical. Take the first law, for example. A robot shall not harm a human, or, through interaction, allow a human to come to harm. To a human, this is pretty straightforward. But when you try to put it in terms of a machine can understand, you start to run into trouble. You mean like how a robot would define harm? You have to make precise definitions for everything, which isn't always easy. For example, how do you find a human? Oh, that's true. If we can both assume that I'm human, you're a human, and that the monitor... or I think we can both assume that I'm a human, you're a human, and that the monitor on your desk isn't. The problems come when we move to the fringe cases, which would be... For example, do dead people count as human? You're getting all philosophical on me here. If you say no, the robot could just ignore someone who's just had a heart attack. So essentially, someone who just finished going through harm, I guess. People like that can still be brought back, but your robot won't help them because they're technically dead. On the other hand, if you say yes, your robot might start digging up graves to help people who have been dead for years. Oh jeez. And the list goes on. Do cryogenically preserved people count as human? Do people in vegetative state count? Well, at the very least with my mother, considering that was literally what happened to her at the end of her life, that is definitely hard to say, and well, let's just say that's a subject I don't really want to touch on right now. What about people who haven't been born yet? That's not even getting started on the definition of harm. And that's not even getting started on the definition of harm. See, that was my first thought. How would you define harm? The point is, in order to implement Asimov's laws, you'd need to take some solid stance on pretty much all of ethics. I suppose it makes sense when you think about it. The laws were never meant to actually be implemented, they're just plot devices. Like the plot device that was the central driving force of iRobot from 2004, and jeez, that came out. I hate time, make it stop. Anyways, in fact, a good amount of Asimov's stories show just how badly things could turn out if they were applied. So I guess they aren't really something we need to worry about. What the? Monika, stop doing that. First the game may or may not have frozen, and then you're like giving me subliminal messages here. I can't take it! You're freaking me out. Say, Daniel, this is kind of a weird question, but is there anything you're afraid of? Human interaction. Well, I guess that's a given since I kind of have social anxiety, like, really, really badly. But that's not even getting into my rational versus my irrational fears. I don't mean the everyday mundane kind of fear, like spilling a drink or ruining your favorite shirt. I mean, like, the kind of deep-seated fear that fills you with dread when you even think about it. For me, losing you would obviously be on the top of that particular list. I told you before, didn't I? I don't know what I'd do if something happened to you. I'm not even sure I could find the will to go on. It's hard to imagine a scenario even worse than that. But as long as we're being hypothetical. What truly terrifies me is the thought that none of this is real. Man, she's getting really philosophical this episode. That one day I'll wake up back in my bed and realize it was all just a dream. So basically what you're saying is it Monika who dreams of Daniel? Or is it Daniel who dreams of Monika? Food for thought. Am I dreaming all of this right now? Are any of you people who might be watching this video even real? Or am I not real and all of you are just imagining me all at the same time? You're imagining me and Monika all together. Which means you're all having the shared same dream. Unless only one of you is real. And everyone else is part of this... Okay. See, I can go on and on about the theory behind that. That there is no game, no epiphany, no you. That you, your love, perhaps even the entirety of the literature club, were nothing but a figment of my own imagination. But it was a figment of Dan Salvato's imagination. But let's not tell her that. That my old world, as grey and meaningless as it now seems, is all there truly is. Oh, she's crying. You know what? We need something a little more fitting for this. And I am kind of thinking of maybe making a 30-minute mix of some of the other songs I have in here as well. Like, let's see, the only ones I have that are at least kind of close to 30 minutes are the Laver City and the Mermaid Falls song. I can never touch this, because Nintendo will get angry at me. I never want to touch this ever again. Yeah, I don't know. This is probably like one of the only other songs I'd consider doing a 30-minute mix of. Especially since it is pretty short. That my old world, as grey and meaningless as it now seems, is all there truly is. Don't cry, Monika. Sorry, that got pretty dark, didn't it? Oh, poor Monika. Please don't cry anymore. I'd wipe your tears, but I'm limited by my existence on a 3D plane in another dimension. I feel kinda silly now. After all, there's no way something like that could be true, right? Illuminati! Okay, no. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, you know, I haven't heard... Let's go back to the classics for a little bit. So, while we're here staring into each other's eyes... Okay, no. Hey, Daniel. Do you ever take naps? Yes, in fact, I had to... Actually... No, I took one yesterday. Because I slept terrible the night before that. A lot of people don't know the benefits of them. They're a lot more than just going to sleep for a bit. The length of time you're asleep is an important factor in how helpful they can be. If you're out for too long, it can be difficult to get back up again, kind of like when you wake up after a full night's sleep. So it's best to rest in 90-minute intervals, since that's about how long a full sleep cycle takes. Okay, I usually take one for close to about an hour, so I guess that's good enough for me. Power naps are another form of resting. For those, you just rest your eyes for about 10 to 20 minutes. Also, that's what that means. I've heard of power naps, but I'm here thinking, like, how do you do that? I know what power walking is. It's like a fast walk. Or technically a slow run. So how would you even... But okay. Well, if that's the case, I've been doing that a whole lot. Like, every time I would come home from college, literally what I would do was just get into some comfortable clothes, take off my glasses, and just close my eyes and lay in bed for about 10-20 minutes. Because my head would be so... What am I trying to say? Like, my head would be hurting a lot sometimes when I would come back from school. I used to get migraines like crazy. They're great for taking a break from your day and clearing your head. And since they're so short, it's really easy to get back into whatever you were doing before. Especially since you don't exactly fall asleep. You're just resting, and you're kind of in a standby sort of dealy. And if you don't already, maybe you could try taking some naps from time to time. The joke's on you, Monika. I already do that. Okay, well, I have to say it. Stupid sexy Monika! You're here talking about me laying in your lap. So what, I guess in this case, are you Amelia and I'm Subaru? Well, I suppose that wouldn't be a bad comparison. And plus you do kind of have a flower in your hair like Emilia does. And she does have very exotic colored hair and eyes and... well, anyways. Maybe one day you could even rest on my lap. Monika, you're trying to seduce me. Okay. Yes, sweetie? I feel... I'm also not going to touch that again. Well, supposedly that only happens if you name your character Natsuki. Well, considering what I've accomplished this week, sure. Really? That's exciting! Was it a major accomplishment or a minor one? I guess it's kind of minor. But, I mean, you can't overlook the small victories in life. That's wonderful! It's very important to celebrate the small victories in life. Monika, are you seriously, like, reading my thoughts? Okay, no, well... I mean, I'm pretty sure we do have a similar train of thought here. So, yes, Monika and I get along just fine. It can be very easy to become discouraged if you only focus on the bigger goals you have. Yes, because... well, especially if the task seems very daunting, you might even start putting yourself down. Because it's like, well, I can't get to this point because I'm at this point. So how the hell do I get over there? It seems like too much, and whatever, whatever. Versus if you look at it like, okay, well, yeah, I need to get over here, and I'm over here, but maybe, like, over the next month or so, I make it to this point, and then so on, so on. You know? Something like that. I hope people know what I'm getting at. Otherwise I sound like even more of a crazy loon than I probably already do. It can be challenging to reach on their own. Or, they can be challenging to reach on their own. But setting and celebrating small goals that eventually lead to a bigger goal can make your big goals feel much more attainable. Exactly. If you basically break it up into like a subset of different goals that you need to achieve, then in a sense it's like instead of trying to tackle this huge sandwich that's the size of your head, you're basically tackling small bite-sized pieces of said sandwich. I don't know why I was thinking of sandwiches now. But like I said, I hope you know what I mean. That way it doesn't seem as overwhelming. So keep hitting those small goals, Daniel. You got it, baby cakes. And remember, I love you, and I'm always cheering you on. Because, ooh, I think I found myself a cheerleader. Okay, wait. Say, Daniel, have you ever heard of a world drifting through space on top of 4 elephants who themselves are standing on the shell of a giant turtle? I've heard of that. Although the only reason I know about that was since Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of did something like that. With the lion turtle. And then likewise, Pokemon with Torterra. Essentially, you have a small plot of earth growing on the turtle shell, which is also kind of from some sort of ancient mythology. But anyways, that's pretty much the extent as to what I know. As far as this specific example, I'm not sure I'm very familiar with that. If you have, you're probably already familiar with Sir Terry Pratchett's Discworld. It sounds kind of weird when I put it like that, doesn't it? Discworld is a comic fantasy book series of 41 volumes written over the span of 3 decades. So kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Well, there's more than 42 volumes, I'm sure. But, well, I was just thinking to myself, it started in the 80s and we are almost like 40 years later. Almost, not quite. The series started out as a parody, making fun of common fantasy tropes, but soon turned into something much deeper. Is that so? In fact, later books are clearly satire rather than parodies, using a clever mix of slapstick, puns, and light-hearted humor to comment on all kinds of issues. But while satire may be the soul of the series, what makes its heart beat is the way it's written. Pratchett really has a knack for writing funny situations, Daniel. I can't really pinpoint what makes his prose work so well, but he's definitely got a very distinctive writing style. Maybe it's the way he writes... Maybe it's the way he writes in a way that suggests rather than tells. Like when describing something, he'll give you just enough details so you can picture what's going on, and let your imagination fill in the gaps. Knowing full well whatever you'll come up with will be far more evocative than anything he could write. It's a pretty neat way to keep your audience invested. Or maybe what makes it work is the way he doesn't use chapters, allowing him to freely jump between his character's point of view. Interweaving storylines can quickly become a mess if you're not careful, but they're also a good way to keep the pacing dynamic. In any case, this series is an easy recommendation, Daniel. It's surprisingly easy to pick up, too, with each book being thought of as a standalone story. Okay, well, in that case, yes, that does sound very easy to jump into. Versus an overarching serialized plot. Kind of like how the original Bionicle series was. That way, in a sense, it starts in 2001, but all this other stuff happens, and if you're just tuning in 2006, you might have no idea who some of the older characters are, what their deal is, so... Assuming that you were one to follow the story. At least, yeah, and that's kind of what has kept me from getting into certain, like, video games and TV shows. If it is, like, one consecutive narrative that's built upon each installment, then I feel like, well, yeah, I don't think I'm going to understand it if I just jump in there. Which is also kind of why I hesitated to ever get into Kingdom Hearts. Well, that and the fact that I didn't have a PlayStation 2 at the time. Because I looked at all the games that they released, and I'm here like, okay, well, 1 makes sense, 2 makes sense, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell am I looking at here? So it's like, I need to play 1, or no, not even. There's a prequel, then 1, then there's a side story to 1, then 2, and then all these other games, and then 3. Or that's not even the half of it, but point being, that kind of narrative is just pretty messy for me, so... That's why for the longest time I just avoided anything Kingdom Hearts, because... I'm just here like, how in the world am I supposed to know what's going on? If it was just 1, 2, and 3, well fine, but then... Now you're telling me... Like, okay, there's the PlayStation 2 games... There's one on the Game Boy Advance, some on the DS, the 3DS, possibly, I don't know. A mobile game that was never ever released outside of Japan, and then, you know... It just gets confusing. versus, you know, just having a standalone volume. It's like, okay, I can just enjoy this if it's just its own self-contained thing. Oh, and ironically, like each Final Fantasy game. Like, you don't have to play Final Fantasy IX to understand Final Fantasy X, since each one is its own self-contained universe. Although there's obviously going to be some recurring themes and characters and all that, like with the summons. Pretty much every Final Fantasy has some kind of summoning system. You might have its own version of Odin, Ramu, and so on and so on. Or maybe not, who knows? I went on pretty long, didn't I? You can pretty much pick any volume and you'll find... dang it. You can pretty much pick any volume you find and you'll be good to go. Though I'd argue guards, or more, would probably make for the best entry points. Okay. Anyway, be sure to give it a try sometime if you haven't already, Daniel. Thanks for listening, Sailor Moon says. Okay, well... Okay, well, I wanted to see if we could get another sexy bedtime story, but she's really talkative right now, and so am I, it seems. Hey Daniel, I came across an interesting thought experiment while doing some reading the other day. It's called Kafkas Toxin Puzzle. I'll read the premise to you so we can discuss it after. Yeah, that already sounds a bit perplexing. Okay. My tongue isn't working for this. An eccentric billionaire places before you a vial of toxin that, if you drink it, will make you painfully ill for a day, but will not threaten your life or have any lasting effects. The billionaire will pay you $1 million tomorrow morning if, at midnight tonight, you intend to drink the toxin tomorrow afternoon. He emphasizes that you need not drink the toxin to receive the money. In fact, if you succeed, the money will already be in your bank account hours before the time of drinking it arrives. Okay. All you have to do is intend at midnight to drink the stuff tomorrow afternoon. You are perfectly free to change your mind after receiving the money and not drink the toxin. I think it's a pretty thought-provoking concept. Well, Daniel, what do you think? Do you think you'd be able to get the $1 million? I mean, a part of me would be almost tempted to, but... I don't know. It's kind of... Yeah, I don't know. And then considering my health isn't quite... Sometimes it's not quite the best... I'm gonna say no on this one. I feel the same way about myself. It's pretty complicated. After all, it may be easy at first glance. All you have to do is drink something that would make you quite uncomfortable. But it gets tricky after midnight, after you've been guaranteed the money. At that point, there's pretty much no reason to drink the painful toxin. So why would you do it? See, that's what I was thinking here. If the billionaire even tells you, like, you don't even have to drink it, in a sense, it's almost like, what's the point of even... What's the point of the toxin in the first place? It just feels like it's some kind of MacGuffin, in a way. Just something to drive the thought experiment on that, in a sense, kinda sort of has a bit of a shaky foundation to it. I don't know, but that's just me. And of course, if that thought process crossed your mind before 12, then the money wouldn't be so guaranteed anymore. After all, when midnight comes, can you really intend to drink the toxin if you know that you're probably not going to drink it? That's also true. I could just go around saying, yeah, I want to drink the toxin at 2 o'clock. Or at midnight. But, I mean, how do you know that I'm legit honest about my intentions? I could just be saying whatever the billionaire guy wants to hear. That way it's like, shut up and give me my money! While dissecting the scenario, it's been pointed out by scholars that it's both rational for someone to drink and to not drink the toxin. In other words, it's a paradox. That is quite the conundrum. To elaborate, come midnight, you have to really believe that you're not going to drink the toxin. You can't entertain any thoughts of not drinking it. Therefore, it'd be logical to drink it. Oh, that's true. So... Oh, I'm trying to think it over my head. So essentially, I don't want to say that it's like reverse psychology exactly, but obviously yes, in order to have intentions to drink it, well then, by deductive reasoning, you are going to drink it because it would just make the most sense. Versus, by not drinking it, you don't have the intentions of drinking it. Therefore, kind of throwing a wrench in the whole thing, and you're not going to get your money by that logic. But if midnight passes and you've already been guaranteed the money, it'd be illogical to punish yourself for quite literally no reason. Therefore, it's logical to not drink it. Also true, but then... Okay, yeah, you see, I'm here like, hey, wait a minute, but then... I wonder how we'd react if this situation really happened. Actually, while mulling the scenario over earlier, I started to approach the topic from a different angle. Although it's not quite the focus of the scenario, I think we can also see it as asking the question of how important is a person's word? There you go, you see. That's what I was saying earlier. I could just be walking around and saying whatever the billionaire wants to hear. And my words could just be totally empty and have no meaning to them. Okay, well... I might rethink... Well, it'll be there whenever I'm in the mood for it, but... I don't know. Okay, right, I can never touch that again. And plus, I guess, I'm just used to the Laver City music so much. And, well, I mean, there's other Shantae music tracks that I'd probably take a crack at seeing what I can make out of them. But, yeah, so... If I go around saying, oh yeah, I intend to drink it, how do you know if my word is true or not? In a sense, you would... If it was just a random stranger, you'd have no way of proving because you don't know them and you don't know anything about them. Versus if it's like somebody you already know and you have an idea of, okay, well, he's a pathological liar or she tells the truth all the time. You know, there's no way of knowing. Have you ever told someone you'd do something when it was going to benefit you both, only for the situation to change and you weren't happy to do it anymore? Do you still end up helping them out? Or do you just say sayonara and leave them to fend for themselves? If you just left them there,
I'm sure you drew their ire for some time. On the other hand, if you still help them out, I'm sure you got their gratitude. I guess you could compare that to the $1 million prize in the original scenario. Although, some people say that $1 million would be a bit more handy than a simple thanks.
In a sense, yeah, it's almost like thanks isn't gonna pay the bills for me, you know? Versus $1 million would pay off whatever and more, possibly. You know, depending on what you're looking at here.
In all seriousness, though, I think that someone's gratitude can be invaluable for both you and for them.
True. That experience could lead to other bigger things. Like, for all you know, that experience could lead you to having a lifelong friend. Because you have their gratitude, and they end up kind of liking you and whatever, and developing a deep bond of friendship. At least, that's one way to look at it.
And you never know, in some situations, their thanks might prove to be more useful than even a huge sum of money.
Case in point, say you need that person's help in the future. You can have them as a friend to call upon whenever the time comes.
So I think it's important to stick to our word. Within reason, of course.
Within reason, yes. Usually I'm a man of my word. I almost never make any promises I can't keep. Well, I say that although I made a lot of promises to my mother, but unfortunately the both of us just ran out of time, and I was unfortunately never able to keep them. Even though my intentions were there. So, in some way you could say that, unfortunately, I did make promises to my mother that I wasn't able to keep because of her unexpected passing. So, but I mean, she always knew that I had the best intentions for her, but you see, case in point, she knew the kind of character I had, because she had a hand in raising that character, so, you know, versus, yeah, like a random stranger, you don't know anything about them, so you don't know if they would stick to their word, or if they're just spouting a bunch of empty nonsense.
In some cases, it may not be helpful to anyone if you rigidly stuck to your word.
Perhaps. Maybe in the sense of you end up overextending yourself, or stressing yourself. I don't know.
That's why it's important to use your head when it comes to these kinds of things. Anyway, to sum it all up, let's strive to keep our promises, Daniel.
You got it. Okay, let me see. Drop some I love yous. I'm probably gonna end the episode really soon.
You never tire of saying it, do you? Well, I never tire of hearing it. Or saying it back. I love you, Daniel. We'll always have each other.
Oh, okay, we have the argument again. Stupid sexy Monika, no, I love you more. No, stupid sexy Monika, you can never love more than I do. Impossible. No, because I love you more. Nuh-uh, girlfriend. Don't go there. You didn't say the magic word. There's no way you can love me more. Not the way I love you.
Alright, you win.
Okay. Let me see one more time, maybe. Or maybe just one more time. Okay, well then. So, Monika's birthday. That would be September 22nd. And I believe they've already... So the update came out pretty recently, so... I would guess that there is something... Like, there's already something in the game's code to prepare for that. I just don't know what it is quite yet, since... It seems to be different between every year that it has been. Granted, I only played this game for the last year, so... But I've seen other videos about the previous year, so... I guess I'll see. And... Okay, and like I said, thank you guys for putting this here. That way I don't have to look for it, even though I know it's here and here, but... So, I'm basically just going to... I'm pretty much just gonna do what I did before and say a couple of weeks to give myself that sort of buffer. That way I can come back for her when it's her birthday. And hopefully by then I'll know what I'm supposed to do. I usually kind of rely on either any sort of hints put out on the Monika After Story subreddit or other YouTubers who play this game, so we shall see. And yes, start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. Alright, well then I guess I will see you guys next time with whatever else I do. Stay golden, and later folks.